The first explosion shattered the heavy steel door of the underground bunker. Dust rained down as Captain Elaine Vargas stood steady, her gloved hand gripping the edge of the command table. The flickering glow of a holographic map cast sharp shadows on her face, its fractured grid marking every inch of New York's ruins. "We're breached," Elaine said, her voice low but firm. Around her, the resistance fighters sprang into action. Corporal Jen Tyrus pulled a rifle from the weapons rack, her sharp eyes scanning the chaos. "How the hell did they find us?" she demanded, slamming a magazine into place. "Not important right now," Elaine snapped, already moving toward the escape tunnel at the back of the bunker. "Stone, get the recruits out. Tyrus, cover the rear." Sergeant Malik Stone, a man built like a fortress, nodded grimly. "You heard her. Move!" His deep voice carried over the din, corralling the younger fighters who hesitated in fear. The sound of approaching Thalzer drones whined louder, echoing like metal wasps. Elaine glanced at Specialist Mark Rain, the team's tech expert, who crouched over a console, frantically typing. "Mark!" she barked. "I'm working on it!" he shouted, sweat beading his forehead. "Their comm signals are encrypted. I'm trying to jam them. No time. We'll have to fight our way out. Let's go!" The team surged into the tunnel just as the drones breached the roof. Their gleaming black shells glinted in the bunker's dim emergency lighting, and the air filled with the high-pitched screech of alien blasters. Elaine pivoted, firing precise shots that brought 2 drones down in a shower of sparks. "Seal it behind us!" she yelled. Tyrus tossed a grenade, and the tunnel collapsed in a deafening roar, cutting off the swarm. The silence that followed was almost jarring. "Clear for now," Stone muttered, adjusting his grip on his weapon. Elaine took a moment to survey her team. Dust streaked their faces, their expressions a mix of fear and resolve. It was always like this, every fight a gamble, every retreat a narrow escape. But this time, they couldn't afford to keep running. "Listen up," Elaine said, her voice sharp and commanding. "We've lost the bunker, but we still have a mission. The Thalzer think they've won because they're bigger, stronger, and better armed. What they don't know is we're smarter. And tonight we're going to prove it." Stone gave a small, approving nod. Tyrus smirked. Even Rain, who looked like he was 2 seconds from passing out, straightened his back. Elaine activated a small hollow projector on her wrist, displaying a 3D schematic of the city. "Our target is the Thalzer AI hub, right here in the dead zone. It's the heart of their operations, controlling everything from drones to troop deployments. We take it out, and they lose their grip on this sector. Suicide mission," Rain muttered under his breath. "Not if we're smart about it," Elaine countered. "We've got intel on their patrol routes and a narrow window to infiltrate. This is our shot, and I'm not letting it slip through our fingers." Tyrus adjusted her rifle, her smirk fading into something more serious. "What's the plan, boss?" Elaine's finger hovered over the hollow map, tracing a path through the labyrinth of crumbling buildings and alien-controlled zones. "We move in teams of 2. Minimal noise, maximum efficiency. Stone and Rain, you're on the perimeter. Jam their sensors, disable any automated defenses. Tyrus, you're with me. We're heading straight for the core." "And what happens if they spot us?" Rain asked, his voice tinged with doubt. Elaine locked eyes with him, her expression unyielding. "Then we improvise. Humanity didn't survive this long by playing it safe." The team exchanged uneasy glances but didn't argue. They trusted her, even when the odds seemed impossible. They moved through the ruins of New York, their footsteps muffled against the cracked pavement. The air was thick with the acrid smell of burning metal and decay, a grim reminder of how far their world had fallen. The skeletal remains of skyscrapers loomed overhead, their shattered windows like empty eyes watching the team's progress. "Contact," Tyrus whispered, freezing mid-step. Elaine raised a fist, signaling the team to halt. A lone Thalzer soldier stood ahead, its hulking frame silhouetted against the faint glow of its patrol beacon. Its segmented armor gleamed obsidian, and the alien's 4 glowing eyes scanned the area with predatory precision. Take it down quietly, Elaine murmured. Tyrus nodded, her movements fluid as she raised her rifle. A soft hiss followed the suppressed shot, and the Thalzer collapsed with a metallic groan. Nice shot, Stone muttered, dragging the body into the shadows. Keep moving, Elaine ordered, her voice tight. They pressed on, the tension coiling tighter with every step. Elaine's mind raced, cataloging every sound, every shadow, every potential threat. The Thalzer weren't just advanced, they were relentless. But so was she. They reached an abandoned subway station, its entrance half buried in rubble. Elaine signaled for the team to stop. 5-minute break, she said. Stone, secure the perimeter. Rain, check the comms. As the team settled into the relative safety of the station, Elaine allowed herself a brief moment to breathe. Her gaze swept over the group. They were tired, battered, and scared, but they were still standing. You okay, boss? Tyrus asked, sitting beside her. Elaine managed a faint smile. Ask me again when this is over. Tyrus chuckled softly, her humor a small but welcome reprieve. Rain's voice broke the quiet. Commander, we've got a problem. Elaine stood immediately. What is it? He hesitated, his face pale. I picked up a Thalzer surveillance signal earlier. I think someone tipped them off. There's a mole. Silence fell over the group, the weight of his words settling like a lead blanket. Who? Tyrus demanded, her hand already on her weapon. Elaine held up a hand to calm her. We don't know yet. But if Rain's right, it means we're on borrowed time. We stick to the plan. No distractions, no second guessing. Understood? The team nodded, though unease lingered in their expressions. As they prepared to move out again, Elaine felt the familiar mix of dread and determination settling in her chest. The Thalzer thought they had humanity cornered, but they didn't understand what it meant to fight with nothing left to lose. Let's go, she said, leading them back into the shadows. The war wasn't over, not by a long shot. The faint echoes of dripping water reverberated through the abandoned subway tunnels. Elaine Vargas led the way, her footsteps measured and deliberate. The air was damp and carried a metallic tang, a reminder of the countless lives lost in New York's collapse. Behind her, the team moved in tight formation, their tension palpable. Elaine glanced back, her sharp gaze meeting Sergeant Malik Stone's. Status? Perimeter's clear so far, Stone murmured, his voice low but steady. But it won't stay that way for long. We'll make it, Elaine replied, more to reassure herself than anyone else. We have to. Specialist Mark Rain walked a few paces behind, his eyes glued to a handheld device displaying alien frequencies. I'm picking up increased drone activity to the north, he said, his voice tinged with nervousness. We need to move faster. They're closing in. Elaine nodded. Then we don't stop again until we reach the hub. The team continued through the labyrinthine tunnels, the oppressive silence broken only by the hum of their equipment and the occasional scrape of boots against concrete. Each step carried them closer to enemy territory, where every mistake could be fatal. As they emerged into an old maintenance corridor, Corporal Jen Tyrus broke the silence. I hate this place, she muttered, her eyes scanning the dark. Feels like the walls are watching us. Elaine smirked faintly, the closest thing to humor she could muster. If they are, let's make sure they don't like what they see. The corridor opened into a crumbled parking garage, its structure barely holding together. Rusted vehicles lay scattered like forgotten relics, and puddles of stagnant water reflected the faint glow of emergency lights. Stone raised a fist, signaling the team to stop. Hold up, he said, crouching beside a collapsed pillar. Motion ahead. Elaine crept forward, her weapon raised. Through a gap in the debris, she spotted a Thalzer patrol unit, a pair of soldiers scanning the area with precision instruments. The alien figures stood nearly 8 feet tall, their armored forms sleek and intimidating. 2 targets, Elaine whispered. Standard patrol. Tyrus slid up beside her, rifle at the ready. Orders? We take them quietly, Elaine said. Stone, cover our 6. Rain, stay back and monitor comms. Tyrus nodded, her movements fluid as she lined up her shot. A suppressed hiss cut through the air, and the first Alzer soldier crumpled to the ground. Before the second could react, Elaine closed the distance, her knife flashing in the dim light. The alien fell silently, its glowing eyes dimming. Stone gave a low whistle. Efficient as ever, Commander. No room for error, Elaine replied, already moving forward. Let's go. They pressed deeper into enemy territory, the ruined city closing in around them. The skeletal remains of skyscrapers loomed overhead, their shattered windows like empty sockets staring down in judgment. Getting closer to the hub, Rain said, glancing at his device. Their signals are stronger here. Then they'll know we're coming soon, Elaine said grimly. Stay sharp. As they approached the outer perimeter of the AI hub, the ruins gave way to alien structures, angular, black metal monoliths pulsing with eerie, blue light. The sight of the enemy's handiwork sent a chill down Elaine's spine. Mark, can you disable their sensors? She asked. Rain crouched near a sleek, alien console embedded in the ground. Give me a minute, he said, pulling out a modified device. His hands moved with practiced efficiency, connecting wires and bypassing circuits. Stone kept watch, his rifle sweeping the perimeter. We've got movement, he warned. How much longer? Elaine asked, her voice tense. Almost there, Rain muttered, sweat beading on his forehead. A faint click echoed as the console powered down. Done. Their grid's blind for now. Elaine motioned for the team to move forward. The hub loomed ahead, a towering spire of alien technology that pulsed like a living organism. Its surface was smooth and seamless, broken only by faint lines of glowing light. Mark, find us an entry point, Elaine said. Rain studied the structure, his fingers flying across his device. There, he said, pointing to a concealed access hatch near the base. Elaine signaled the team to advance, but a faint noise made her freeze. A low hum, growing louder. She turned toward the sound, her heart sinking. Drones, Tyrus hissed, raising her weapon. 3 Thalzer drones zipped into view, their sleek forms glinting in the dim light. Elaine fired first, her shot striking true. One drone exploded in a burst of sparks, but the others retaliated, their plasma bolts scorching the ground. Stone, take the left! Elaine shouted, dodging a blast. Stone's rifle barked, and another drone went down. The last drone veered toward Rain, its weapons charging. I've got it! Tyrus yelled, firing a precise shot. The drone spiraled out of control, crashing into a nearby wall. The team regrouped, breathing hard. They're onto us now, Stone said grimly. Elaine nodded. Then we move fast. No more stops. They reached the access hatch, where Rain worked quickly to bypass the lock. Elaine kept her weapon trained on the perimeter, her senses on high alert. It's open, Rain said, stepping back. Good. Tyrus, you're with me. Stone, Rain, hold the entry point and be ready for anything. Stone gave a curt nod. Don't worry, Commander. We've got your back. Elaine and Tyrus slipped into the hub, the alien interior a stark contrast to the ruins outside. The walls pulsed faintly, emitting a low, rhythmic hum. Every step felt like an intrusion, the oppressive silence amplifying their unease. Feels like we're walking into a trap, Tyrus muttered. Stay focused, Elaine replied. We're here to finish this. As they navigated the corridors, Elaine's thoughts drifted to the mission stakes. Failure wasn't an option, not when so much was riding on their success. Commander, Tyrus said, breaking her reverie. You hear that? A faint noise echoed ahead, like the hum of machinery mixed with alien chatter. Elaine motioned for silence, her grip tightening on her weapon. They rounded a corner and froze. A squad of Thalzer soldiers stood guard near a glowing console, their postures rigid and alert. Elaine assessed the situation, her mind racing. Too many for a frontal assault, she whispered. We'll have to create a distraction. Tyrus smirked. Got just the thing. She pulled a small device from her pack, setting it to emit a high-frequency pulse. Moments later, the alien guards turned toward the source of the noise, their attention diverted. "No," Elaine said. They moved quickly, slipping past the guards and deeper into the hub. The faint hum of the structure grew louder, a sign they were closing in on their target. As they reached the central chamber, Elaine paused, her instincts screaming that something wasn't right. "Tyrus," she said softly. "Stay alert. We're not alone." The feeling of dread settled like a weight in her chest, but Elaine pushed it aside. They had a job to do, and failure wasn't an option. "Let's finish this," she said, stepping into the unknown. The central chamber of the Thulzer hub loomed ahead, a cavernous space bathed in an eerie blue light. The walls pulsed rhythmically, like the heartbeat of a living creature. Elaine Vargas crept forward, her weapon raised, every sense on high alert. Corporal Jen Tyrus followed close behind, her sharp eyes scanning the room for threats. At the center of the chamber stood the AI core, a massive, crystalline structure suspended in midair, its surface shimmering with alien glyphs. Energy pulsed through it in waves, filling the room with an oppressive hum. "There it is," Elaine murmured. "The heart of their operations." Tyrus nodded, her expression grim. "It's beautiful in a terrifying kind of way." Elaine smirked faintly. "Let's make it a pile of rubble." She pulled a small device from her pack, a compact but powerful EMP charge, specially designed to disrupt Thulzer technology. Setting the timer, she crouched near the base of the core, her hands steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "How long do we need?" Tyrus asked, keeping her weapon trained on the shadows. 5 minutes to overload the system," Elaine replied. "But we'll be long gone before that." Tyrus's voice was tight with worry. "If the Thulzer don't stop us first." Elaine nodded, her gaze flicking to the corridor they'd come from. "They will try. But they won't succeed." As she armed the charge, a faint noise made her freeze. It wasn't the hum of the core or the low thrum of distant machinery. It was footsteps, heavy, deliberate, and getting closer. "They're coming," Tyrus hissed, her grip tightening on her rifle. Elaine finished securing the charge and stood, her movements swift and precise. "Then we hold them off. Whatever it takes." The first Thulzer soldier appeared in the doorway, its glowing eyes locking onto them. Tyrus fired instantly, her shot precise and lethal. The alien collapsed, but more followed, their armored forms moving with chilling efficiency. "Cover me!" Elaine shouted, firing a burst at the advancing enemies. Tyrus ducked behind a console, returning fire in controlled bursts. "They just keep coming!" Elaine's mind raced. The corridor was narrow, giving them a defensive advantage, but they couldn't hold it forever. She tapped her comms. "Stone, Rain, we're pinned at the core." "Status?" Stone's voice crackled through the static. "We've got hostiles at the entry point. Holding for now, but we're stretched thin." "Hold as long as you can," Elaine said. "We're almost done here." The firefight intensified, plasma bolts scorching the air. Elaine's heart pounded, but she remained focused, her every move calculated. Tyrus was relentless, her sharp aim taking down enemy after enemy, but the Thulzer kept advancing, their sheer numbers overwhelming. "We're running out of time!" Tyrus yelled, her voice strained. Elaine's eyes darted to the timer on the charge, 3 minutes left. "We just need to hold them a little longer," she said, though the odds were stacked against them. A sudden explosion rocked the chamber, throwing Elaine off balance. She hit the ground hard, her ears ringing. As the smoke cleared, she saw a new figure step into the room, a Thulzer commander. It was taller and more imposing than the others, its armor gleaming with intricate patterns. A strange weapon was clutched in its clawed hands, and its glowing eyes burned with cold intelligence. Elaine scrambled to her feet, leveling her weapon at the alien. "Tyrus, focus fire on the big one." Tyrus nodded, her jaw set. "On it!" The commander moved with unnerving speed, dodging their shots with fluid grace. It raised its weapon, firing a beam of energy that cut through the console Tyrus was using as cover. "Damn it!" Tyrus cursed, diving for a new position. Elaine switched to her secondary weapon, a plasma pistol, and fired at the commander's exposed joints. Her shot struck true, slowing the alien's movements but not stopping it. "Elaine, it's adapting!" Tyrus shouted. Elaine gritted her teeth. The Thalzer weren't just powerful, they were smart, and this one was no exception. She needed to think fast. "Keep it distracted," she said, grabbing a grenade from her belt. "I've got a plan." Tyrus unleashed a barrage of fire, forcing the commander to focus on her. Elaine used the distraction to flank the alien, moving swiftly and silently. The commander turned at the last second, its weapon charging for another shot. But Elaine was faster. She threw the grenade at its feet and dove for cover. The explosion was deafening, the shockwave rattling the chamber. When Elaine looked up, the commander was down, its armor shattered and its weapon destroyed. Tyrus exhaled sharply, lowering her rifle. "Nice work, Commander." Elaine nodded, her gaze flicking to the timer. Less than a minute left. "We're out of time. Let's move!" They sprinted toward the exit, the walls shaking as the core began to destabilize. The hum of the chamber grew louder, almost deafening, as energy arced wildly through the air. Elaine tapped her comms again. "Stone, Rain, fall back! The core's going critical! We're already moving!" Stone replied, his voice strained. The team regrouped at the access hatch, their movements urgent but controlled. Outside, the alien structures pulsed erratically, a sign that the core's destruction was imminent. "Go, go, go!" Elaine shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. They ran through the ruins, the ground trembling beneath their feet. Behind them, the Thalzer hub erupted in a blinding explosion, a shockwave tearing through the city. Elaine glanced back, her heart pounding as the alien spire collapsed, its once imposing form reduced to rubble. The sky lit up with flashes of blue, signaling the failure of the Thalzer's control systems. "We did it," Tyrus said, her voice filled with a mix of relief and disbelief. Elaine nodded, though the weight of their losses hung heavy on her shoulders. The mission was a success, but the war was far from over. As the team regrouped in the safety of the underground tunnels, Stone clapped Elaine on the shoulder. "Hell of a job, Commander." Elaine managed a faint smile. "We hit them where it hurts, but this is just the beginning. They'll come back harder. Then we'll hit them harder," Tyrus said, her expression resolute. Elaine looked at her team, battered, bruised, but unbroken. They were humanity's last line of defense, and they wouldn't back down. "Rest up," she said, her voice steady. "Tomorrow, we fight again."